Across the world and throughout history, the position of men and women has been almost exactly the same. Everywhere, the father is the head of the family. He works outside the home. He makes money, controls the finances, makes all the decisions. The woman gives birth, raises children, and takes care of the family. And this has been that way for centuries.
تاريخياً انتقل تقسيم الأدوار هذا من الأسرة إلى المدرسة إلى الأعمال التجارية والمؤسسات السياسية والدينية، بحيث يتخذ الرجال القرارات الرئيسية التي تشكل عالمنا.
A lot of things that we take pride in, whether it's art or technology or science or historical events, are shaped by men. When you train boys and men to be courageous, to be ambitious, to take risks, to be creative, to be innovative, of course they achieve. They're at least encouraged to achieve, and many of them do. But half of the population has not had its share of inclusion, achieving and shaping aspects of the world in which we live. Look at all the problems we are facing. The decisions that are being made are not the decisions we need. We have to create a vision for the future that we want together, men and women, to make it work for everybody. To do that, we really have to step back, take a look, and see how is it that we have gotten to where we have been, and how can we make real change.
عززت الديانات والثقافة والتقاليد قيام المجتمع الأبوي واستمراره، وساهمت القوانين والحوكمة في تدعيمه وتكراره.
Studies show that nearly 90% of the people of the world believe that they are affiliated to some religious belief or other. And they do, in many ways, affect how people think. And almost all religions had the sectarian division between what men should be and what women should be.
The family is the primary unit of society, and it is the first place where women's roles are constrained and defined from their very birth. And I think the customs in every culture are key to influencing the position, status, freedom, opportunities for women in those societies. It's not like some particular set of men decided that, now we're going to kind of control and oppress women from here on out. And neither is it so clear-cut that women may not have been part of that in certain ways.
The mothers actually preach to their daughters saying, "My daughter, this is the way you're to behave. You just accept whatever the man says. This is the way things are supposed to be."
قبل القرن التاسع عشر لم تكن النساء في معظم البلدان يعتبرن مواطنات كاملات، ولم يكن بإمكان أغلبيتهن امتلاك الأراضي، وإذا ورثت المرأة أي أصول تنتقل إلى زوجها عندما تتزوج. وقبل القرن العشرين لم تملك المرأة الحق في التصويت أو إشغال أي منصب، ولم تحصل النساء في سويسرا على حق التصويت إلا في العام 1971. ولأكثر من 100 عام ناضلت الناشطات من أجل القضاء على التمييز بين الجنسين، وفي حين تحققت إنجازات كثيرة لا تزال المساواة غير حقيقية، وذلك بسبب القوانين الأسرية التمييزية في بعض البلدان والثقافة الأبوية الراسخة على الصعيد العالمي. وحتى اليوم في القرن 21 لا تزال ملايين النساء يستيقظن كل يوم في عالم لا يتمتعن فيه بحقوق أساسية أو فرص متساوية، وليس فقط في البلدان النامية.
To this day, there's no paid maternity leave in the United States. There's no affordable childcare, and with women still making less than men for the same jobs, it makes it very difficult.
As things change in society, as modernization takes place, laws change. The only laws that are very difficult to change are laws that have to do with the status of women. They are the foundations of male control. Women's sexuality and reproductive rights, for instance, are a very important element of control.
Abortion rights are under attack. What do we do? Stand up, fight back.
لعقود طويلة حاصرت التقاليد إمكانية المرأة بالسيطرة على جسدها. ومع ازدياد التطرف لا يبرز الخطر على إعاقة التقدم فحسب، بل يهدد بعكس الحقوق التي تحققت بالفعل.
We're seeing fundamentalist movements rising within all of the world's great religious traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and others. So this is a global problem.
They begin by using religion as a basis for restrictions on women. We've seen that happen in Yemen, we've seen it in Nigeria, and we now see it in many countries.
Fundamentalism is about using an interpretation of religion, not as a spiritual project, but as a coercive mechanism to take power in society and in the state. And I think that's why secularism plays such a key role here in the struggle against fundamentalism.
Family laws are very important because it is the law that defines the relations, especially in the private sphere, that have an impact then in the public sphere. It says who does what, who controls who and what.
في الدول ذات الأغلبية المسلمة تشكل الشريعة الأساس لعدد من قوانين الأسرة، وفي حين تختلف القوانين من بلد إلى آخر يحرم معظمها المرأة من التمتع بمكانة متساوية. وفي بعض الدول لا تستطيع المرأة مهما كان سنها أن تتزوج أو تقبل وظيفة خارج المنزل أو تلتحق بالمدرسة أو تخرج في الأماكن العامة أو تسافر من دون إذن ولي أمرها. يجب على الزوجة أن تطيع زوجها، وبما أنها لا تعتبر مواطناً كاملاً لا تستطيع نقل جنسيتها إلى زوجها الأجنبي أو إلى أطفالها المولودين في الخارج. يسمح للزوج باتخاذ زوجات متعددة ويمكنه الطلاق لأي سبب تقريباً، ويحافظ على حق حضانة الأطفال. ومن ناحية أخرى لا تملك الزوجة خلال الطلاق سوى حقوق قليلة جداً، وغالباً لا تعتبر الإساءة أو الاغتصاب الزوجي انتهاكاً للحقوق وسبباً عادلاً لطلب الطلاق. وعندما قام الناشطون في المغرب بحملة لإصلاح قوانين الأسرة واجهوا مقاومة قوية.
Et qu'est-ce que nous disaient les islamistes conservateurs? Si vous donnez le droit aux femmes au divorce, elles vont divorcer, vous allez avoir un taux de divorce, ça va être catastrophique. Et même certains magistrats qui disaient, donc elles sont très émotives, donc il ne faut pas leur donner ce moyen.
ولكن بعد مرور أكثر من عقد على الإصلاح تظهر الإحصاءات قصة مختلفة.
Le nombre de divorces au Maroc, depuis la réforme de 2004, n'a pas cessé de baisser. C'est-à-dire que les gens divorcent moins, même si maintenant les femmes ont le droit au divorce.
ولأن قوانين الأسرة تستند إلى نصوص دينية ومفسرة من قضاة ورجال دين منفردين، يمكن أن تختلف آراءهم اختلافاً واسعاً. وفي بعض الدول التي تضم ديانات متعددة مثل الهند وإندونيسيا ولبنان يشكل هذا الأمر تحدياً خاصاً.
One family court would decide that child custody age is 2. Another one would decide that it's 12. One grants divorce under certain conditions, one doesn't. This is to the benefit of some men who can afford it, which means if you're a Catholic and you won't be divorced in your Catholic family law, many men actually opt to become Muslims and divorce under the Muslim law and then come back to being Christian. This situation of 17 religious family courts, all of them considering women to be subservient to men, has hurt many women and many children.
Si l'épouse décède, l'époux a une part très importante de l'héritage de sa femme. Si c'est lui qui décède, la veuve n'a que le 1/8 Ce qui est absolument dramatique parce que souvent les femmes veuves se retrouvent dans la rue.
When I went to resolve my father's estate under Algerian family law, the issue came up that my male sibling would receive twice what I would receive. And the legal official raised his finger to the sky and said, "Madam, you cannot argue with God." And that is when I realized the vital importance of secular family law.
أول شيء كان لما يجي حدا أو إنه يجي حدا بده يخطبني وأنا أحكي لا.
Where are you taking me? They just said, come, come, and then they performed the wedding.
لا تعد بعض هذه العادات والقوانين القديمة مجحفة فحسب، بل إنها تدعم العنف ضد المرأة.
They are in a situation where they do not have choice. They are forced into such marriages by their parents, and everything that is happening in such marriages is violence against them. It is sexual violence, it's slavery, it's rape.
For a long time, the feminist movement focused on issues around women as women's problems. But we realized that they had ignored the men who are the perpetrators of the violence and yet who are always a beneficiary of the system. So we work against all forms of violence against women and children in Kenya. Kwa hivyo huyu ameoa mtumwa. Yaani ameoa kutumiwa vile anavyotaka, alishwe, apewe mimba, azae, apike chakula, achunge ng'ombe. Kwa hivyo kuoza watoto wadogo inawafanya pia wanakuwa kama watumwa.
Anuni اللي دقيبني طبعا كيك وانا كربان. أنا دقيب فرق مسجيه يو دقيب بسيني دركيه بريت فرق سجيه. دي دكتور وانا مجاسف كفي على تمرت ندي سلامي وسط.
They are deprived of their education, their family life, their possibilities to develop as empowered girls within the family.
وفي حين سن عدد من الدول قوانين تحدد عمر الزواج في سن 18، غالباً ما يتحجج الأصوليون بالثقافة والتقاليد للتحايل على هذه القوانين.
Subordination within the family is very much tied up with the idea that men has the right to punish women. Domestic violence has to do with power. And this, when it is backed up by legislation that places him as the head of the family, becomes very dangerous for women.
وفي البرازيل يتعرض 70% من الرجال للاعتداءات العنيفة في الشارع، بينما تتعرض 70% من النساء للاعتداء في المنزل من قبل الرجل الذين هم على علاقة بهن.
Mi savem bitim wablomi and also mi master mi man.
This has to do with centuries of domination, cultural domination, by all sort of cultural productions where man is always in the role of aggressor, by this building of masculinity associated with power over women in different ways.
ثمة قول مأثور في تيرا دوس ماتشوس في البرازيل: إذا أقام الرجل علاقات جنسية مع نساء كثيرات يعتبر الأمر علامة على الرجولة. إذا كانت المرأة هي الزانية ستدفع الثمن بحياتها.
murdered to protect family honor.
By 20 members of her own family.
Disobedience is a dishonor.
نجد ما يسمى بجرائم العاطفة وجرائم الشرف في عدد كبير من الأديان والثقافات التي تعود إلى العصور القديمة.
In these situations, the family law is giving authority to commit these crimes and to defend the honor of the family, despite of the fact that the price of this honor is the life of the woman.
فاللباس غير المحتشم والعلاقات الجنسية خارج إطار الزواج أو مجرد الاشتباه بها وعدم قبول الزواج المدبر هي بعض الحجج النمطية للدفاع عن جريمة الشرف.
This person will not feel respectful in the society if he didn't commit this type of crime and clean the honor of the family.
Family laws are actually the best example of state-sanctioned violence. Unless the state offers protection from violence, protection from discrimination, and egalitarian civil laws, it is actually, the way I see it, condoning violence.
Legislative changes are really the basic step toward eliminating violence. And of course, the whole culture of violence that is encouraged by the way people are brought up, by the way masculinity is defined.
When you have massive power imbalance, it prevents women accessing rights. And that's then reflected in the labour market and from the labour market into governance structures, and it becomes self-fulfilling. So essentially, if the family unit does not provide for real equality and accessing real rights, that will be reflected right through society.
قدمت دراسة حديثة أجراها باحثون من جامعة بريغهام يونغ وكلية تكساس للزراعة والميكانيك أدلة تجريبية على ارتباط عدم الإنصاف في قانون الأسرة ارتباطاً وثيقاً بمستويات مرتفعة لهشاشة الدولة وعدم استقرارها.
So there is a direct connection between the status of women in the family and whether a society is a peaceful one or a violent society.
وفي رواندا الدولة ذات الأغلبية المسيحية يعتمد معظم الناس على الأرض لكسب عيشهم. قبل الإصلاح لم يكن بإمكان النساء امتلاك الأرض، أما اليوم أصبح بإمكانهن ذلك.
We used kind of our soft power to lobby for change and to convince the opinion leaders. It's a win-win. It's not an easy process, I must say, because these traditions take long to go, but we know that we are on the right track and we've given the woman a very important tool to use for her livelihoods.
على الرغم من تمتع تركيا بقانون مدني علماني منذ العام 1926 حارب الناشطون لعقود ضد القوانين الأسرية الأبوية وحققت جهود الإصلاح إنجازاً بالتخلص من مفهوم رأس الأسرة بالإضافة إلى انتصارات أخرى.
The joint property regime that was introduced, which grants a woman divorce 50% of the accrued assets after marriage. It not only empowers women, but it also recognizes women's unpaid labor.
حقق الناشطون في عدد كبير من البلدان مكاسب إضافية في قلب القوانين التمييزية، ولكن تمرير القانون هو أمر، أما تغيير الثقافة فهو أمر آخر.
To make the laws become meaningful on the ground, there's really a need to do a lot of work within communities. Before the laws, during the laws, when the laws have been made. When the communities believe in something, then the sustainability of that something is much more important.
Organizing knowledge and information, unrelentless lobbying, and actually not to despair. It's a very long-term process. It has happened in other countries. It can happen everywhere else.
The best way is documenting cases, reporting on these cases, and raising awareness about the disconnect with human rights. And of course, you can convince men also by talking about their daughters.
bringing men on board within the household, in the community, in schools, in religious institutions. Everywhere, in every religion, there are very progressive voices. And so that becomes another area for advocacy and change.
You must have in your toolkit a way to work at the most profound levels of what we call culture. So what else are we using? Are we using art? Are we using drama? Are we using music? Are we using the tools that touch our heart, not just the tools that touch our brain?
There are a lot of men among the younger generation who are thinking differently, who are working with young women in an egalitarian fashion. So culture is changing, and it does make a difference.
Liberation has a way of bringing out the best in men and women alike. Gender equality is not a war of the sexes, but it's a war against oppression.
I think men are as much victims of patriarchy as women are, and we rarely think about it in that way. But in fact, I do think men find themselves extremely circumscribed by the conditions of patriarchy in ways that we rarely talk about, but I think are profoundly important if we want to change the rules of the game.
Taking a stance against fundamentalism is not akin to an anti-religion stance. What we truly need is a coalition of both religious believers, non-religious believers, and people all across the spectrum who are committed to human rights, who are committed to the right to freedom of religion, and who are also committed to equality.
You have to start with yourself, you have to start with your family, you have to start with how you raise your kids.
So if we get it right within the family, if we get the individual rights properly respected, we get equality, we will then start spreading that into other institutions, and organically it will lead to transformation.
We need to act more global. There has been an awakening around the world. So there's no going back in what we have achieved. There's no going back in the demand for moving forward.
There's hardly anyone on earth who doesn't want to be free. There's no one on earth who doesn't want to have a say in their own life decisions. Where women have had more opportunities and been able to mobilize those opportunities, it makes a difference. If we learn to recognize our power, to feel it, to internalize it, to exert it, we can do it. We have to begin at the level of the family and the culture that dominates the relationships in the family. To do that, we have to bring the men in so that we work together toward a different world, a world of inclusion of all, justice for all, equality for everyone.